Do you think you're smarter than your parents? Think about it for a second. Not whether you know more, you obviously do. You carry the internet in your pocket, but actually smarter, better at reasoning. Better at solving problems you've never seen before. Better at holding a complicated idea in your head and turning it around until it makes sense. Most people would say yes, and for 50 years, the data backed them up. From the 1930s to the 1990s, every generation of humans scored higher on intelligence tests than the one before. Not in one country, in every country that tracked it. A child born in 1950 scored higher than one born in 1930. A child born in 1980 scored higher than both. The gains were consistent, measurable, and so reliable that researchers gave the pattern a name, the Flynn effect, after the political scientist James Flynn, who first documented it. And the gains weren't small. Over the course of those 50 years, average scores rose by roughly 3 IQ points per decade. That means the average person in 1990 would have scored in the top 15% if tested against the norms of 1,950. Your grandparents' generation tested with the same instrument, under the same conditions, would look measurably less capable on paper than your parents' generation. Not because they were less capable as people, because whatever the tests were measuring, each generation was producing more of it. For half a century, it was one of the most dependable findings in all of cognitive science. Humans were getting smarter. Generation after generation, the line went up. And nobody knew exactly why, but the leading explanations all pointed in the same direction. Better nutrition, better education, more complex environments, more exposure to abstract thinking. The world was getting richer, healthier, and more cognitively demanding, and the scores reflected it. Then, somewhere around 1,995, the line stopped, and then it started going down. A 2018 Norwegian study confirmed the reversal was real. Not a blip, not a statistical wobble, real and accelerating. The study tracked over 700,000 men across 3 decades. The scores were falling. A separate American study, measuring around 400,000 people across 4 cognitive domains, found that 3 of the 4 were declining. Researchers described the losses as alarming. Not because the numbers were ambiguous, because they weren't. Now here's the part that turns this from a statistic story into something you should actually care about. When you put the decline on a graph next to something else, something that has been rising on exactly the same timeline, the picture changes completely. We'll get to that graph. But first, you need to understand why the line reversed, because the explanation most people heard was wrong. When the reversal was first confirmed, the most popular theory was also the most comfortable one, at least if you weren't the group being blamed. The argument went like this: smarter people tend to have fewer children, less educated populations tend to have more. Over time, the math tilts against average intelligence. It had a name, the dysgenics hypothesis, and it carried the cold feel of logic. It sounded scientific. It spread through articles, comment sections, conversations at dinner tables. You've probably heard some version of it. You might have half believed it. But in 2018, the same Norwegian study that confirmed the reversal also destroyed this explanation, and it did it in the cleanest possible way. They didn't compare different families. They compared brothers, same parents, same house, same genes, same neighborhood, same dinner table. The only variable was when each brother came of age. The older brother, who grew up in the 80s and early 90s, scored higher. The younger brother, who came of age later, scored lower. Stop and think about what that means. The decline wasn't genetic. It couldn't be. The brothers shared DNA. Whatever was pulling the scores down wasn't something they were born with. It was something in the world that changed between when the older brother grew up and when the younger one did. And it wasn't just Norway. The same pattern appeared in Denmark, in Finland, in France, in the Netherlands, in Estonia. Across multiple American studies, every country that looked found the same thing. Think of it this way: 2 plants from the same seed, grown in the same pot, in the same soil, but the one that sprouted later grew up with less light. The seed didn't change, the conditions did. So this is not a story about who's having children with whom. This is a story about something that changed in the shared environment, something that began shifting after roughly 1975, that is suppressing the specific cognitive abilities these tests measure. And the abilities being suppressed are not random. They form a very specific cluster. Researchers call it executive function, sustained attention, the ability to stay focused on one thing. Working memory, holding several pieces of information in your head at once and manipulating them. impulse control, resisting an immediate reward in favor of a better one later. Fluid reasoning, solving problems you've never seen before, under pressure, without being told how. These are not trivial skills. These are the hard ones, the ones that took the longest to develop. The ones that built everything, every technology, every institution, every solution to every complex problem humans have ever faced, and they're the ones dropping fastest. So, what's pushing them down? There are three forces, and the third one makes the first two feel like a warm-up. The first one is the attention environment. Executive function is not something you're born with a fixed amount of. It builds like a muscle, through repeated, effortful use. And the specific exercise that builds it is one that has become structurally scarce in modern life. That exercise is boredom. Not the feeling of boredom, the cognitive state, staying with something difficult when an easier option is available, reading a long argument all the way through to its conclusion instead of skimming, sitting with an unsolved problem without reaching for your phone, following a single thought to where it actually leads instead of bouncing to the next one. In 2023, researchers tracked over 80,000 people and measured how long a person could stay focused on a single screen before switching. In 2004, the average was 2.5 minutes. By 2023, it had dropped to 47 seconds. Not because people got dumber, because nothing around them required sustained focus anymore. Every app you use is built to interrupt you. Every feed is designed to pull you away from whatever you were just doing and redirect your attention to something new. Every notification is a tiny fracture in whatever thought you were building. This isn't an accident. Interruption keeps you scrolling. Scrolling keeps you on the platform. Time on the platform is what gets sold to advertisers. The business model and the cognitive cost are the same thing. Think about the last time you tried to read something long. An article, a book chapter, a document for work. How far did you get before you checked your phone? How many minutes passed before something pulled you away, not because you were done thinking, but because a notification fired, or your hand just reached for the screen on its own, or some part of your brain decided that whatever you were reading wasn't delivering reward fast enough? That moment, the moment you break away from something difficult and reach for something easy, is the exact moment where executive function either builds or erodes. Every time you push through it and stay with the hard thing, the muscle gets stronger. Every time you give in and switch, the muscle weakens slightly. And the entire digital environment you live inside is engineered from the ground up to make you switch. Not because anyone wants you to be dumber, because your attention, fractured into tiny pieces, is worth more money than your attention held whole. Now go back to the Norwegian brothers. Same house, same parents, same genes. But the younger brother came of age in an environment with measurably more interruption, more fragmentation, more passive consumption, and fewer hours of the kind of effortful, uninterrupted thinking that built his older brother's working memory. The seed was identical, the light was different. The attention environment is the primary driver, but it's not working alone. The second force is one that was removed from your food without anyone telling you. This wasn't an accident of modern life. This was a decision, a quiet one, made without public notice. Through most of the 20th century, commercial bread in the United States and Europe was made with iodized dough conditioners. Iodine is a trace element your body needs for thyroid function. And thyroid function is directly linked to cognitive development, especially in children and especially during pregnancy. The Flynn effect's rise tracked almost perfectly with improvements in nutrition across the developed world, including iodine availability. Then, in the 1970s and 1980s, manufacturers made a change. They switched from iodine-based dough conditioners to bromine-based alternatives, cheaper, more convenient. No announcement, no public discussion. Iodine was quietly pulled from one of the most widely consumed foods in the Western diet. And iodine deficiency, a condition the medical community had considered solved, quietly returned. In developing countries, iodine deficiency is documented to reduce IQ scores by 10 to 15 points. In developed nations, the effect is smaller, but it is real and measurable. You were almost certainly exposed to lower iodine levels than your parents were, and you had no way to know it, because nobody told you. There's also lead. Leaded aviation fuel remained in use until 1996. Researchers estimate it caused measurable cognitive losses across entire birth cohorts, particularly among people who grew up near small airports. The exposure was invisible. The damage was cumulative. And by the time anyone thought to measure it, the affected generation had already grown up. Nutrition, chemical exposure, the attention environment. Three forces running simultaneously for 50 years, each one chipping away at the same set of cognitive skills. But here's the thing, none of them, not even all three together, fully explain what you see when you put the decline on a graph next to something else. Something that has been rising, quietly, since around 2015. Go back to the beginning. The Flynn effect ran for 50 years, then reversed. Here's what I haven't told you yet. Researchers studying the reversal noticed a pattern in which scores were falling. Not all cognitive abilities were declining equally. The ones dropping fastest formed a specific cluster. And when you look at that cluster carefully, you realize the pattern isn't random. It almost looks designed, not by any one person, not deliberately, but by a combination of forces that happen to converge on the same narrow set of skills inside your brain. And here's the part that should make you pause. The skills falling fastest in humans, the ability to reason through complex problems, hold multiple variables in mind simultaneously, maintain focus under pressure, resist the obvious answer and find the real one, are precisely the skills that AI systems have improved at fastest since 2015. Not roughly the same skills, precisely the same skills. We have been measuring how well humans think since the 1930s. We have been measuring how well AI thinks since about 2015. When you put both measurements on the same graph, there is nothing subtle about it. One line goes down, one line goes up, and right now, they are closer together than they have ever been. This isn't a conspiracy. Nobody planned this, but the convergence is real, and the timing is not something you can dismiss. In 2015, AI systems could barely pass basic image recognition tasks. By 2020, they were beating humans at complex strategy games that required exactly the kind of reasoning the Flynn effect used to measure. By 2023, they were writing legal briefs, passing medical licensing exams, and solving graduate-level mathematics problems. The improvement curve is not linear, it's exponential. Every year, the machine line climbs faster than the year before. Meanwhile, the human line keeps drifting down, not dramatically, not catastrophically, but steadily, measurably, across every country that tracks it. 3 IQ points per decade on the way up became 2 to 3 points per decade on the way down. The gains took 50 years to accumulate. At the current rate, they could be erased in 30. Researchers will point out that the tests measure slightly different things. Human cognition and machine computation aren't identical. That's true. But even the researchers who make that distinction admit that the overlap is not a coincidence. Both lines track the same core capabilities: abstract reasoning, pattern recognition, problem solving under novel conditions, and they are heading toward the same place. The human line is falling, the machine line is rising, and the gap between them is shrinking. Now here's the part that almost nobody reporting on this tells you, because it changes everything about what you just heard. The reverse Flynn effect is environmental. It is not genetic. It is not hardwired. It is not permanent. Something in the world changed, and the things that changed are, at least in principle, things that can change back. The Norwegian brothers prove it. The only variable that could explain two brothers in the same household scoring differently is the world they grew up in, not who they were, not what they were born with. The environment, which means the decline is reversible, not in theory, in practice. No generation before this one has had the data to see the decline happening in real time. The researchers who first documented the Flynn effect had no way to predict it would reverse. The scientists who confirmed the reversal in 2018 had no way to know that AI would be benchmarking on the exact same cognitive tasks within 7 years. You have that data now. You can see both lines at the same time. And you're seeing them at the one moment in history when the decline is confirmed to be reversible and the cost of not reversing it has never been higher. The cognitive science on reversing executive function decline points to a specific set of conditions, almost the exact opposite of what most modern life pushes you toward: sustained attention instead of constant switching, deep reading instead of skimming, sitting with difficult problems instead of reaching for the easy answer, tolerating boredom instead of medicating it with a screen. The research is remarkably consistent on what rebuilds these skills. Extended reading, not articles, not threads, but books, the kind that require you to hold a developing argument in your head across chapters. Learning that involves genuine difficulty, not the kind of difficulty that makes you give up, but the kind that makes you push, conversation that goes deep instead of wide. Periods of genuine silence where your brain has nothing to consume and is forced to generate thought on its own. Physical environments where interruption is structurally impossible, not just discouraged. None of this is new information. Every generation before yours built these skills automatically because the world they lived in demanded them. There was no alternative to sustained attention when the only entertainment was a book and the only communication was face-to-face. The skills weren't cultivated on purpose. They were cultivated by default because the environment required them. What's new is that you have to choose these conditions deliberately because the default environment no longer provides them. Every previous generation got executive function training for free. Yours is the first that has to opt in. These aren't productivity tips. They're the conditions your brain was built to grow under. And they're the conditions that have been systematically removed from your environment over the past 30 years. The question is not whether humans are getting measurably worse at the cognitive skills that matter most. They are. The data is clear. The question is whether the line goes back up, and whether you are part of the reversal or part of the trend. The line is not fixed. The window is not permanent. And right now, you are one of the only generations in human history that knows the line exists at all.